2908 BC, 987 AM. This is the 243rd year of Enoch's empire, exactly 300 years, 108,000 days, since he had begun to rule over the Sethites. Enoch goes to a place called Akhuzan, Giza, where he is taken up into the sky before 800,000 people. It is said that Enoch never died and that he would return to earth in the last days to execute a prophetic ministry against the watchers during the apocalypse. It is also declared that Enoch departed in the same hour and day that he was born, 365 years earlier. The people assembled and the words and instructions of Enoch were read aloud. The divine instructions they were to follow in building a gigantic monumental complex at that same site. As the Anunnaki had determined to rule over men on earth, the Creator took Enoch into heaven to rule the faithful Anunnaki, angels, that had kept their divine estates. 1. Genesis. Secrets of Enoch. 2. Jesha. 2905 BC, 990 AM. The Sethite architects surveyed the Giza Plateau area and began quarrying stone from many miles away, and the builders began the altar of God. As the plateau was levelled, an elaborate and deep tunnel system with great galleries of rock and subterranean chambers was dug out. The 4 cornerstones were laid first, and the perimeter of the Great Pyramid was laid next, and the erection of the monument was from the 4 corners up and inward. The beginning of construction from a distance appeared like 4 leaning towers of stone, several courses high, with the centre of the pyramid at all times of construction the lowest. The 51° (0.51 to 52 minute) angle sloping faces were carefully employed during the erection of more and more courses, added from the perimeters inward. As the structure was built up in elevation, the central portion remained like a cube, much lower than the 4 corners of the monument. The project will require 90 years, 1080 months, to complete, in 2815 BC, and its precision to the thousandth of an inch is by far more superior to structures erected by men in the 21st century. The distribution of the interior passages and chambers had long baffled researchers. However, the knowledgeable interpreter can read the measurements of the monuments as a great geometrical timeline of world history, immortalized in stone. This is the subject of chronotecture. This was originally theorized as early as 1859 AD and popularized from 1860 to 1924 AD. But because these researchers were deficient in an accurate chronology of history, their exhibition of the theory fell short before the critics. The pyramid inch, based upon the velocity of the Earth around the Sun, is the basis for the length of measurement used in planning out the architecture of the Great Pyramid. In this year, the Sphinx is carved out of the solid limestone of the Giza Plateau. The statue is the largest to survive the ancient world and is a lithic prophecy of the diligent watcher of Eden, Sphinx, which is a composite symbol for the 4 corners of heaven, the zodiacal bull, lion, eagle, and man, that protects the sacred tree, pillar of knowledge, that mankind lost in 3895 BC, but would regain in 2106 AD. Frederick Habermann, in Tracing Our Ancestors, wrote that the Sphinx is the most important symbol of Eden that we have left, or rather constitutes a link between paradise lost and paradise regained. For this Sphinx, with the body of a lion and the head of a woman, symbolizes nothing less than the prophecy that from the seed of the woman shall come the Lion of the tribe of Judah to crush the head of the serpent. And for 55, actually 58 centuries, the Sphinx has been watching for him. The early Egyptians of Thebes held traditions that the Sphinx had the body of a lion and woman's head with eagle's wings. Plutarch wrote that the Sphinx once had wings of a multicolored hue. There is a deeper connection between the Sphinx and the Genesis narrative. Planet Phoenix appeared as a fiery flaming sword that in Genesis was the weapon of the Watcher, preventing mankind from regaining access to the walled enclosure, Eden. This guardian is immortalized as the Sphinx protecting the Great Pyramid site, ever facing east. Remarkably, the Sphinx title derives from the same root from which Phoenix derives, so that Sphinx is actually the same word as Sphinx or Phoenix. Remember the Gnostic text that declared that Phoenix was a witness against the angels.